Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I've been thinking a lot about what to share right now with everything going on in the world, and especially living here in the United States. And firstly, I want to show you some of my experience over the last week of going to various protests around the police brutality and murder of George Floyd, and just showing how people have really come together to demand justice and to demand change.
When I was in Santa Monica last week with some of you, dodging rubber bullets and getting tear gassed in Santa Monica, California in 2020 with no warning and unprovoked, kneeling with a group of peaceful protesters by the Pacific Ocean, exercising our constitutional rights, I think of my dad's words of the 10,000-year struggle. As I stood on 3rd and Fairfax with my 16-year-old daughter and her friends, hemmed in on three sides while we demanded accountability for the murder of one of our own, and the LAPD demanded we disperse, hands on guns, batons drawn, tear gas cocked and loaded, I understand why the fight might be a long one. The very institution that made America the richest country on the planet, slavery, is the one whose legacy has now created the deepest forms of racism and racist culture, so deep, y'all, that we have become numb to the almost daily videos we see of death and destruction in our neighborhoods. We stand today in the memory of George Floyd, his senseless murder, but it's more than that. It's the resistance that is rising up from his last breath.
This is more than just race. We need to take this down and understand that we are people. Y'all need to hear us. We are not just saying it's not just Black lives that matter, but right now, our lives are the ones targeted. Everybody matters, but right now, the Black lives need to matter the most. We need to be seen. We need to be heard. You guys need to understand that this is a peaceful protest because all we want is peace.
Don't talk to me about LeBron James and Beyonce making it unless you want to talk about the widening gap between rich and poor and the economic structures that purposely and intentionally hold Black and brown people from accumulating the massive wealth that exists in other communities.
We are what democracy looks like.
I said in the beginning that the youth is going to bring us to a new place, that they are our salvation. They are going to write a new story that is centered around our oneness.
This is a change. This is a change. We're here to end systemic racism in America. This is a change. The fact that you're here is not only historic, it's righteous. So you're not just here to be part of history, you're here to be part of something that is just.
Make no mistake about it, these kids, they're out here talking about revolution. They're talking about dismantling the systems that are embedded in the American story, the systems that are creating our suffering, and the students will be the leaders. So I have hope. I will leave with hope. I will leave with hope that all of y'all in this crowd will walk away from here and look each other in the eyes. Look me in the eye when I am walking down the street. And we will continue to peel back the layers and layers that are suffocating our humanity. We will get to the worms and the rotten rind, and we will together expose the new story, the story of love.
I don't know where you're watching from around the world, but this has become beyond just an America problem, a US problem. There's been protests all around the world. It's beyond just police brutality. It's systemic racism, and not just like very obvious racism. Yes, there's a lot of very blatant racists still out there, but it's more this system that perpetuates the oppression of Black people and minorities. And I have been blind to some of the ways which I've been complicit in it. And also, I think just learning and educating myself over the last few weeks, trying to read as much as possible, listening to those voices of people that have been screaming tirelessly for decades, and this isn't just a sudden thing that's happened. This is reached a boiling point where finally it's kind of broken through. Just everyone I know is talking about this now, and I know I'm going to make mistakes. I know there's still ignorant views I have. I know there's going to be a lot of unlearning, really diving into learning the true history of America, but also the UK, where I'm from. I'm learning a lot of shocking things that I didn't understand about the slave trade and the oppression of black people across history, and it's very sobering, and it's interesting. For me, I realise as a privileged white person and a man, like, I'm at the top of privilege, really. Every system's built for me to win, and I really want to help join a movement which dismantles those systems. Yes, the police brutality thing is horrific. The police system that is so corrupt needs to be completely reinvented. So one of the biggest calls that the Black Lives Matter movement are calling for is the defunding of the police. When I first heard that, I was like, that sounds a bit extreme. I don't think I agree with that. But the more I've heard it explained, the more I'm so behind this. There's billions and billions of dollars that go into funding police forces to perpetuate this very aggressive, militarized response to crime. Dividing communities more, the low-income areas where black people are living in America, it's creating this perpetual place for crime. Defund the police, reallocate funds to community projects, dealing with some of the root causes of why crime's happening, why people get into crime, rather than failing to deal with the outcome, which is what's currently happening with policing and the jail system, the criminal justice system. It's dealing with the root causes, giving black communities the resources they need, the support they need to really help young people get a foot up. The other big call to action I've seen online is just to get out there and vote, whether that's in local elections. And to be honest, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you can vote and get your voice heard and get people into positions of power that can make better choices, especially for minorities and people that are oppressed right now, I think that's what democracy is all about. So even if you believe the political system you live in is corrupt and broken, I still think the best way we can use our voice is to vote people into power that are truly going to make a change. One of the other big things that I would love to encourage you guys to do, and it's something that I'm going to be going out of my way to do, is to be buying from black businesses as much as possible. Because for me, that's the way that we're truly going to see a shift in the wealth disparity and see true wealth distribution, where there's been hundreds of years of a system that's basically made it almost impossible for black communities to rise. And there's lists and resources out there to help you find black-owned businesses. So what I'm committing to is to continue to listen, to learn, to research, and really try and be a part of the solution. And I don't know what all of those solutions are. I think there's multiple ways to attack this problem. But I think the powerful thing is together we're standing and saying enough is enough, and we need to demand a change. We need to raise up together and be the change we want to see in the world. I'm not in this for the short haul. This has awoken something within me, and I see a lot of my friends as well, that I've never seen before. This is a real rallying of people wanting justice in the world. I think it's kind of compounded by everyone's been locked up in quarantine for months with the corona thing, really reassessing their own lives and reassessing what's going on in our world and reassessing the systems that we've built. How can we reinvent these systems? How can we imagine new ways of doing things? So I think that has led to this tinderbox, this cry of injustice resounding so much more than it's ever happened before. Even in the hundreds of years that this injustice has been happening, I really feel like this could be a turning point, a tipping point in not just American society, but globally. These protests are happening all over the world right now, and that's exciting to me in a way that we could see true change. I'm going to continue doing my best to get out to protest, to share with you guys my experience and any messaging I'm hearing about calls to action. There's loads of resources on the Social Good Club Instagram, which I'll link below as well. I realise this isn't a time for me to take centre stage in any way, but I do want to be using my platform to amplify voices in the Black community. So please comment below any Black creators you think I could collaborate with and help spread their message. And yeah, like I said, this is an incredible time to come together, no matter what race you are. But this is a time to learn from one another, move forward, and create the world that we want to be living in.